Welcome to day 9 of our Canada road trip, and today's adventure takes us from the mountain town of Golden, British Columbia, through the towering peaks of the Selkirk Mountains. Later on, we go across a beautiful lake by ferry, and we end up in a surprising desert town of Osoyoos, BC. We're starting off the day on Highway 1, approaching west out of Golden and into the Rogers Pass. We found a lot of information about the history of the building of Rogers Pass, which opened in 1885 for the Canadian Pacific Railway and which put the Trans-Canada Highway through in 1962. And at the time they first came up with the idea of going through these mountains, it was termed an act of insane recklessness. You'll find a lot of interesting information as well about mountaineering, the history in the area, and also a wonderful place in the parking lot where Mr. Dickens got a chance to run around, including the parking lot a little later at Giant Cedars Boardwalk Trail, where he found his all-time favorite stick. From Rogers Pass, we headed west on the Trans-Canada Highway to Revelstoke, which is one of British Columbia's most beautiful little towns, and then we turned south on Highway 23, and it's quiet, winding along the Columbia River, thick forests and mountain slopes on both sides. It's wilderness country, and it's not unusual to spot wildlife along the way. You might see black bears foraging near the road, maybe a moose stepping out from among the trees. There are eagles and osprey soaring overhead. At the end of Highway 23, you reach Galena Bay, where the road meets the water, and the only way forward is the Arrow Lake Road. Upper Arrow Lake is a long, narrow lake that's actually part of the Columbia River system, and the lake stretches over 100 kilometers, is quite deep, in some spots nearly 500 feet, and as I mentioned, when you get to Galena Bay, you're going to take the ferry across to Shelter Bay. There isn't a bridge here, and there's no road detour. This ferry is the only way across. It runs every 30 minutes most of the day. The ride will take about 20 minutes, and the best part of all is the ferry is completely free, paid for by the province. It started service back in the 1950s when the hydroelectric dams created the lake system that we see today. So we're going to get on board the ferry and take that 20-minute ride, and we won't have you watching the video for nearly that long, but it will be a peaceful few seconds while you get a look at this gorgeous green lake and the mountains towering above it. Now, after crossing the lake, we're heading toward the Kettle Valley region, which is on the way to Osoyoos, which is our destination for the end of the day. And it's going to be an amazing day, all the way from glaciers and forests to desert at the end of the route. Going through the Kettle Valley, the land here already feels drier. You see more open meadows. It's a transition zone, not quite mountains, not quite deserts. And it's one of the hidden gems of British Columbia. It's the Kettle River snakes its way here through rolling hills and grassy valleys. It's very peaceful. The river is famous for its lazy curves, and people who travel there or the locals really enjoy tubing and fishing and swimming in the summer. Someone asked me which landscape I prefer. Do I like the mountains where we were this morning, or this area, this transition area around Kettle River, or the desert around Osoyoos where it's very warm, and I always like the temperatures to be high and for it to be warm. And it's hard to choose. They're all fascinating areas to see. And as we're cruising along, just looking at the landscape go by, very restful and very serene. This area on the way into Osoyoos is beautiful with the rolling hills and the trees and that, but when we get into Osoyoos as well, I think you'll find that it's a fascinating thing to see and also very pleasant to be rolling through. This area around Osoyoos is Canada's only true desert. It's part of the northern reach of the Great Basin Desert, which stretches up from Nevada and the American Southwest. And the desert forms here because the Cascade Mountains block the moist Pacific air. And by the time the weather systems pass over the mountains, most of the rain has already fallen, and what is left is dry and sunny and hot. So we have the desert landscape, and then we have this gorgeous Lake Osoyoos, that we can start to see now as we go along these twisty roads through the hillside areas. Those hills are covered in sagebrush, some prickly pear cactus, and bunch grass. And the Okanagan people lived here for thousands of years, adapting to this ecosystem. It's a really interesting desert cultural center that you can stop by if you want to find out more about it. It's also a tremendous area for growing grapes, and many of the British Columbia wines come from this region. So if you enjoy wine and you want to stop by and just pick some up, they've got a lot of choices here. There are a lot of vineyards. When the European settlers arrived in the late 1800s, many of them tried ranching here. It was very difficult, very tough without reliable water. But everything changed when irrigation projects came in during the early 1900s, and suddenly they were able to grow grapes, plus all sorts of fruit, peaches, cherries, apricots, and this is one of the best growing areas in Canada. The lake, which you're going to see in a moment, is one of the warmest in Canada as well. The entire region, because it's part of the desert, is very warm, and people love going there in the summer. Modern Osoyoos is about 5,000 people, but it's a magnet for travelers who want to take in some sunshine and see a sandy beach and take a dip in that lake. Our day is going to be up to in the 90s, nice and warm, and quite a change for what we started out with early this morning. And there is the lake, a beautiful place for the end of the day, and just a great place to take a dip. Thanks so much for watching our day 9 of our Canada road trip, and please join us for the last day. We close out back at Hope, where we started out.